Going to go through and we're going to turn the projects that we've made so far into a SketchUp drawing. All right, so we're going to go all the way back to the speaker. I've got this made real small so that I can have my SketchUp screen up. But if you need to pull this up for reference on the sizes, you'd go modules, woodworking, passive speaker. And then you'll have all of the dimensions that you need. But I'm just going to keep it here in the corner so that I can have my SketchUp screen up. If SketchUp asks you at the beginning when you open it, like what template you want simple feet and inches. Sometimes it asks you, sometimes it doesn't. So we're just going to draw this out. I'm going to look here to get my dimensions and what it should look like our speaker when we're done. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to start with the back piece that had no holes drilled in it. You might remember that. And it was 7.5 wide and 3.5 tall. Okay, 7.5 wide, 3.5 tall. Now, when we were drawing our blocks on graph paper, it was important to make sure we stayed on the axes, unless it was an angle. Angles jumped between the axes, but this one will stay on the axes. So when I'm drawing a line, I want to make sure the line is either red, blue, or green. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to grab my pencil here. I always like to start at the origin, but technically you don't really have to. I'm going to click and release, not click and drag. I'm going to hover over to the right. Don't click again, and I'm going to type 7.5, enter. Okay. Now, depending on how you're zoomed in or out, yours may look way bigger or way smaller than mine. All right, so 2 fingers on my trackpad, and I swipe up or down on the object that I want to zoom into, will zoom me in or out. 2 fingers down is zoom in, 2 fingers up is zoom out. Okay, if you watched that video last week that kind of went over the buttons, you probably know that. All right. If you ever make a mistake, you can click Command Z to undo it. If you ever just need to let go of the tool you're holding, you can click ESC or Escape on your keyboard. And here's a friendly little trick. If you click the bottom button and then the bottom button again, that zoom extends and it makes whatever you've done so far be full screen. Okay? You'll get used to these zooms. Also, in bottom button, second from bottom, the hand here will move stuff around on your screen if you want to look at it in a different way. Okay, so I'm still on my pencil. So I got a 7.5 wide. If you don't still have this line, click on it again. Hover up on the blue axis, but don't click. Type 3.5, enter. Hover left on the red axis, don't click. Type 7.5, enter. Okay, you don't need to put your cursor down in here. You just type and it'll come up in there. And then I'm gonna click to close the shape. Okay, now I'm gonna zoom out a little bit by scrolling up with 2 fingers on my trackpad. Now I want to push pull that face. Sorry, I went a little quick. Push pull is this tool. I'm gonna click and release on that face. Hover towards the foreground. Don't click again, and the thickness of that piece is 0.75, enter. All right, so I have drawn the back piece. All right, now there's several different ways I could draw this second piece. Okay, that's the one that has the 1-inch hole or radius of 1/2 inch, because radius is half of diameter. So I'm going to draw it like this. I'm going to go back to my pencil. I'm going to click in the bottom corner, click and release, hover forward, type 0.75, enter. Hover to the right, 7.5, enter. And click here to close the shape. So I have the bottom of that board, and I'm going to click push pull, click and release on that face. Hover up, type 3.5, enter. Okay, so I have the board. Now I just need to put these holes in it. It says the center of that hole is over 1 inch. and the hole is centered. Okay, so I'm going to grab my pencil, click one bottom corner, click and release, hover over on this line, 1, enter. I'm going to hover over that line until it says endpoint. Okay, that's the end of that line I just drew. Click and release, hover up. I want to go halfway up. The height is 3.5, so half of that is 1.75, enter. Okay, and then I'm done drawing, so I'm going to click escape on my keyboard. I want to be done with that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. So bottom corner, click and release, hover left, 1, enter. Hover over the line until it says endpoint, click and release, hover up, make sure your line is blue so that it is on an axis, 1.75, enter. I'm done drawing, so I'm going to click escape. Okay, now I need to make the circles. So I'm going to go on the rectangle tool, change it to circle. If you let your cursor hover over one of the buttons, it'll tell you what it is. Okay, I'm going to click circle. I'm going to click and release on this endpoint, hover out, and I want radius 1/2 inch, so I'm going to go 0.5, enter. Do the same thing over here, click and release, hover out, 0.5, enter. Okay. I'm going to grab my eraser to clean some of this up. I'm going to click and drag over that line, click and drag over that line, click and drag over that line, click and drag over that line. I just needed those for reference points to find the centers of my circles. I don't actually need them. Now I'm going to go back to push-pull, this tool. Okay, I'm going to click and release the inside of that circle, hover back away from me, type 0.75, enter. Click and release the center of this face, away from me, type 0.75, enter. So I have my second board, okay, which was that one. Now I need the third one, which is this one. So back to my pencil. I'm going to start it out the same way. Bottom corner, hover towards the foreground, make sure it's on the green axis. Well, the way yours is oriented, it might not be green, it might be a red, but make sure it's on an axis. Okay, type 0.75, enter. To the right on the red, 7.5, enter. Click this corner to close your shape. Push pull, click this face, hover up, type 3.5, enter. Now I just need to put my circles in there. Okay, it says the center is 1 in from the edge, and I know that they are centered. So I'm going to go pencil, bottom corner, hover in on that line, 1, enter. Find the endpoint, click, up on the blue, 1.75, enter. I know I'm going a little fast, but you can pause and rewind as much as you need to. Okay, or you can come back to my desk and I'll help you out. I'm done drawing here. I'm going to go escape, ESC. Same on this corner. Click and release. Hover in, 1, enter. Hover to find the endpoint. Should be green and it should say endpoint. Click and release. Hover up on the blue, 1.75, enter. I'm done drawing, so escape. Circle. Click and release. Hover out. My radius is 5/8. So we've been typing all of our measurements so far in metric, 0.5, 0.75, blah, blah, blah. 5/8 would be kind of hard to convert. I think it's 0.625. Well, I know it's 0.625, but instead of doing that, you can also type them as a fraction. So I'm going to hover out and type 5/8, like that. Enter. Same over here, hover out 5/8. I'm gonna grab my eraser here, clean up that line, that line, that line, that line. Push pull here, click and release, hover backwards, 0.75, enter. This face, back, 0.75, enter. Okay, I'm gonna grab my orbit button right here. You don't have to. I'm just kind of look around, make sure everything I got going looks right. Looks pretty good to me. Looks like our actual speaker did. Okay. Now I'm gonna orbit down a little bit to where I can see the top of this face because I need to cut this notch out. All right. That notch was 3.5 wide, centered. Okay, so how I'm going to do that, I'm going to go back to my pencil. I'm going to find the midpoint. I'm going to hover over this line until it turns blue and says midpoint. Okay, to make it 3.5 inches wide, I'm going to go 1 3/4 left from the center, 1 3/4 right from the center. So I'm going to click and release. To the left, 1.75, enter. I'm going to hover over until it, no I'm not. How do I want to do this? Yeah, I'm going to hover over here until it says endpoint. I think this will be easier. Click and release. Down on the blue axis, it says 1 1/4, so I'm going to go down on the blue, 1.25, enter. Hover to the left on the red, 3.5, enter. And then up to the top of the shape, make sure I'm on the blue axis. Click. Now I want to get rid of this notch, so I'm going to go push pull. I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can do it. This would be the easy way. Click this face, hover backwards, 0.75. Okay, let me undo that real quick. So I'm going to go Command Z. I could also push it down. I just want to show you there's always a bunch of different ways to do things. So if I close it up at the top, I could push pull the top down 1.25 and it would get me the same thing. Okay, I know when we built the actual project we had sound channels. If you want to do that to go above and beyond, you may, but we're not going to do it for this exercise because I know this video is starting to get a little bit long. All right, we've got one piece left. This one right here, or the front face. So, hopefully you're kind of getting the hang by now. I'm going to click this corner, come out on the green axis, 0.75, enter. Right on the red, 7.5, enter. Click to close it up. Push pull, click this face, hover straight up, 3.5, enter. And then I need to do my circles. So back to pencil, bottom left corner, in along this line, 1, enter. Hover to find the endpoint. Click, up the blue, 1.75, enter. Escape because I'm done drawing. Bottom right corner, in along this line, 1, enter. Click and release. Up the blue. So trust your axes, okay? This line's blue, which tells me it's going straight up and down. It looks crooked, right? That's just a little bit of distortion. It is, I want to always stick on the axes when I'm drawing straight lines, okay? So anyway, I'm up the blue, 1.75, enter. Escape because I'm done drawing that line. Circle tool. Click and release. Out. It says 3/4. So I'm going to come out. Type 0.75, enter. Over here, click and release. Out. 0.75, enter. Grab my eraser. Clean up some lines. Push pull tool. Click this face. Hover back. 0.75, enter. Click this face, hover back, 0.75, enter. Grab your orbit tool, kind of go around, check it out, make sure everything's looking cool. I feel pretty good about it. Okay, that looks like my speaker that I made a while back. So, save that drawing so that it'll save to your Sketchup account since you're going to be on a different computer every time. And then also for backup, I think I would take a screenshot, which on a Mac is Shift Command 4, and highlight it. Okay, and then I would go into my Google Drive and put that screenshot in my drive so that you know it'll save to the cloud since we're going to be switching computers every day. So new file upload, and then it should be at the very bottom, the last screenshot you took. Open. Okay, now you know you have it. All right, because we'll turn all these in at the end. All right, that is it. Come show me raise your hand and I'll come look at your this. Okay.